you take an issue like adoption, and when do you start talking about it? And again, I'd start as early as possible, because I want kids to know that we're going to tell them the truth. I want my children to know that we're not going to hide anything from them. Of course, there's the wisdom issue of saying, what do I share? What information do they need to know, and at what age? And where's their maturity level? What's developmentally appropriate? What's the pros and cons maybe to telling them right now? But I think a really good basic principle is to say, this is their story, and God's the author of their story. God wrote their story, so why would I want to hide it from them? That's kind of insinuating shame in their story and saying, you know, something really hard happened in their past, or this is what's going on with their birth family, or this is how they came about into an orphanage or foster care, or came about being adopted. And some of those things are really hard. They are painful things that flow out of the brokenness of the world and sinful human beings. But again, I had the distinct privilege of interpreting it for them in light of the gospel and in light of the fact that God is writing their story. And not every chapter of their story is going to be good. Not every chapter is going to be exciting and wonderful and fun. There are going to be hard things. But I wanted to build a worldview or perspective for them that says that God's up to something good. He knows what he's doing. So ultimately, they should know their story. They should know the details of their story. But then you couch that in the wisdom issues of saying, all right, when can they handle it? When is it appropriate to tell them this piece of information or that piece of information? And that really has to be so individual to the parent and the family and the details of the situation. So we have 4 little guys that we've adopted, and they've been in different homes, they've been in foster care, and we don't hide those things from them, we just constantly reinterpret it. So, you know, one way of talking about it was we would say, what would we say? We would say that, you know, we weren't ready to be your mommy and daddy yet, and God knew that, so God brought you other mommies and daddies to take care of you till we were ready to be your mommy and daddy. And we would start framing their world. It's completely true. God knew when we were ready to become their parents, and when they were ready to be part of our family. And the beauty of that is hearing an older sibling tell a younger sibling the same thing, and say, mommy and daddy knew you weren't ready to be their mommy and daddy yet, so they brought you other mommies and daddies to take care of you till you were ready to be part of our family. And inevitably, one of my kids will say, well, what took you so long? So there's a way of talking about those things that also approach it to say, you know, God knew what he was doing. So something that could seem painful, how do you talk about foster care? How do you talk about the fact that you've been in multiple homes? Can also be couched in a sense of saying, but God was with you, and God knew what you needed in the moment, and God had a plan, and you didn't know what the next chapter held or what the next chapter will hold after this, but we know that God's good and he's taking care of you through it.